So I'm doing an indie game, and the first thing that I wanted to do was to learn to code. This is something that I wanted to do for a very long time, and now today I can finally say that I have found a set of strategies to help me become the programmer that I always wanted to be, and I'm sharing those with you right now. Are you ready? Hey, what's up, mate? I'm Seth, and don't get fooled. Coding is hard. It's worse than learning a new language like, let's say, Japanese. Which is why I have decided to share some of the strategies that I have found in the past few months that I've been learning. Just a few months, you say, right? Well, yeah, it's not been long since I started, but everyone has to start somewhere, right? This is an effort to use the FEYNMAN technique to learn to program, which, if you don't know what it is, it just means basically to teach everything you learn as soon as you learn it. If you want to know more, please check this amazing video right here. The theory behind it is that if you actually teach everything that you learn as soon as you learn it, it will stick better in your mind. So please think of this video as myself using you for my own benefit, and also teaching you that you can do the same with someone else. So once you start learning to program, please teach all of that to someone else. If you don't have anyone else to annoy with programming facts, well, you can always make a YouTube video. And I think that I should consider that the first tip. So yeah, let's go with that. Tip number 2, always remember why you're learning to code. If you don't have a why, you won't code. That's as simple as that. In my case, I'm trying to make a game, which means that I know what language to learn, what to focus when learning such language, and actually what to do every time I go to my computer to program some. If you don't have very clear reasons, it will just be like learning random facts about anything. Sure, entertaining at first, but rather pointless and tedious in the end, and you will just forget. Tip number 3, don't have just one resource for learning. Once you already know why you want to code and have chosen a programming language to do so, always pick at least one extra book or tutorial to learn from. People learn and understand things differently, and that means that they teach things differently too. So you may be able to understand things from one book perfectly, but the next chapter it will be like a complete mess for you. So always have that extra one that may be able to clarify for you what you don't understand from the other. Tip number 4, don't learn just one programming language at a time, and this goes against common wisdom, it seems. But this is what happened to me. I started learning Java and I was doing amazing at first, like everything was simple, everything was clear, but then I just hit a rock and I just couldn't go through it. So out of desperation and just boredom, I started a Python tutorial on another page. And a lot of the things that were actually becoming harder on Java were actually perfectly clear on Python. Now, people will actually tell you to go first for Python because it seems to be easier. And they may be a little bit right, but no, that's not the point, because actually when I started to learn Python, I realized that the basics were better understood in a more structured language like Java than in something that was so free as Python. Sure, you will probably be starting coding faster on Python, but you will not understand why you're doing it. And for me, understanding why and how you're doing it is a lot more important than to actually just put your first lines of code. And with that said, tip number 5, just start to code. Like as soon as you can, as soon as you start reading your first tutorial, go and write it yourself. This is not a theoretical field, you have to do to learn. And you can start with doing some very basic stuff like coming from a tutorial, or probably things that you may use or need, like, I don't know, a shopping list, or I did a D&D dice thrower program. That was the first thing I did. And tip number 6, as you do all of this, you have to understand that it is not about memorizing. It doesn't matter if you are able to memorize really quickly one programming language over another. What matters is that you change how you think. You need to start thinking as a programmer. Coding in itself is just puzzle solving. That's all it is. You start with a problem like moving pixel A to where pixel B is, and you work backwards to solve and try to figure it out how to do that. Now, of course, each programming language will have a different way of doing it, slightly different way of doing it, but you can always research that on the fly. And with practice and constant coding, those things will stick to your mind no matter what. So don't try to focus on learning and memorizing. Try to understand what you are doing, try to understand how to solve the problem. And to help you with that, tip number 7 is to just try to do hypothetical scenarios in your head, like imagine how would you code a washing machine, or how you would code a robot, for instance, that takes your dog out for you. Start dividing everything with simple steps like finding the dog, finding the leash for your dog, putting the leash on the dog, and so on, and try to use pseudocode language, if you don't know any language yet, to fix those problems, to know how you will do it. If you don't know what pseudocode is, it's just like use things like, if dog is asleep, wait for 15 minutes. If not, go look for the dish, and so on and so on. As tip number 8, I just wanted to leave you with some resources. If you don't know where to start like at all, I suggest you download the Solo Learn app, not sponsored. It has courses and tutorials of pretty much every single language. It has daily challenge, puzzles, and an amazing community that will help you. Also, if you're more of a book person, which I would suggest actually to try both books and tutorials and apps and everything, I would suggest to go with the Head First Programming Language book series. They are amazing, now at least the Java one is. They are a bit expensive, at least here in my country, but they are well worth it. It's an amazing and different type of book. A book that will be fun, funny, interesting, exciting, dramatic, even a bit sexy. So you really can't miss it. Promise. Also, there are a lot of YouTube tutorials to learn from, and I would suggest the MIT Introduction to Computer Science and Programming course, and perhaps even this amazing Java tutorial on how to create a game. Or you could also wait for my next video series in which I will start teaching you the basics of how to code a game. So if you don't want to miss it, please subscribe, hit the notification bell, and see you on the next one.